Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
Lena Whitmore stared at the spreadsheet on her computer screen, the numbers blurring together after hours of work. The house around her was quiet, too quiet. Kellen hadn't come home yet, even though it was nearly midnight on a Tuesday. She knew where he was. She didn't need proof anymore. She closed her laptop and walked to the window overlooking the manicured lawn of their Havenwood estate. The neighborhood screamed success, luxury cars in circular driveways, pristine landscaping, houses that looked like they belonged in magazines. The perfect facade. The sound of her phone vibrating broke the silence. A text from Patricia, her mother. Iris is asleep. She asked about you. Said she misses you. Lena's throat tightened. Her 6-year-old daughter was the only good thing to come from this wasteland of a marriage. Tell her I love her, and I'll pick her up tomorrow after work. Thank you, Mom. She set down the phone and moved to the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of water. The granite countertops gleamed under the soft lighting. Everything in this house was perfect, polished, and completely hollow, just like her marriage. When she heard the garage door open, she didn't move. She stayed perfectly still, her face a mask of indifference as Kellen walked in, his shirt wrinkled, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. "You're still up?" he asked, dropping his keys on the counter. "Just finishing some work," Lena replied, her voice neutral. The Morrison account needed attention. He nodded, not really listening. "Where's Iris?" "With my mother." Again. She emphasized the last word slightly. "Third time this week." "Your mother spoils her." He shrugged, opening the refrigerator. "She likes staying there." "She likes stability," Lena countered, watching him. At 38, Kellen was still handsome, tall, with dark hair and the kind of smile that got him what he wanted. It had worked on her once, something that's been lacking here lately. He closed the refrigerator door, an irritated look flashing across his face. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." Lena turned away. "I have an early meeting. I'm going to bed." "Lena." "It's fine, Kellen," she cut him off. "Everything's fine." Upstairs in their bedroom, she locked the bathroom door and pulled out her phone. She opened the secure folder hidden behind layers of encryption and reviewed her notes. Bank statements, property transfers, trust documents. Everything was nearly in place. She thought back to when they'd met 8 years ago. She'd been rising through the ranks at her firm, making smart investments both professionally and personally. Kellen had seemed ambitious then, starting his own business consultancy, talking about expansion plans and growth strategies. But ambition without discipline was just hot air. Within 2 years of marriage, she'd realized his business acumen was all talk. He spent more than he made, took credit for others' ideas, and couldn't handle criticism. By the time Iris was born, Lena was handling all their finances, covering for his mistakes, keeping them afloat. And then, 3 years ago, she found the first receipt. A hotel. Then jewelry she never received. Weekend trips he claimed were business. She wasn't stupid, but Lena wasn't the type to scream, throw things, make scenes. That wasn't how she was raised. Patricia Delacroix had raised her daughter to be strategic, not emotional. "Never let them see you bleed," Patricia had told her. "They'll only push the knife in deeper." So Lena planned. For months, she'd been quietly transferring assets, documenting Kellen's financial mismanagement, securing her position. The house title had been moved to a trust she controlled. Their investments were now in her name or untouchable accounts. She'd protected her ownership stake in his business. Everything important was secured. Tomorrow, she would leave for London. A week-long business trip that would give her the perfect distance when everything fell apart. She heard Kellen come up the stairs and get ready for bed in the guest room, a sleeping arrangement that had become common over the past few months. He thought he was being clever. He thought he was winning, that he was wrong. Lena stood by the window of her London hotel suite, watching the city lights glimmer against the darkening sky. The clock on her nightstand read 9:47 p.m. She'd spent the day in meetings, presenting quarterly strategies to investors who trusted her judgment implicitly. The irony wasn't lost on her. People trusted her with millions, yet her own husband couldn't be trusted with basic honesty. The earnings reports were spread across the desk, her notes precise and organized. She took a sip of her Cabernet, savoring the rich taste as she reviewed the numbers one more time. Her phone lit up with Kellen's name. 3 days into her trip, and this was his first call. She answered with a calm hello. "Lena." His voice was smooth, controlled. Too controlled. "How's London?" "Productive," she replied. "The Hartwell team is on board with our new strategy." "Good, good." There was a pause. Not the pause of someone searching for words, but the pause of someone savoring a moment. "Listen, I need to tell you something." She took another sip of wine, waiting. "Lena, I'm leaving you." The words hung in the air. Words that might have devastated her a year ago now felt like confirmation. "I've sold the house and the car," he continued, his voice growing more confident with her silence. "I'm moving in with Sienna." Another pause. "We have a son." Her grip tightened around the glass. A son. While she'd been working, building their life, he'd built a secret family. Still, her voice remained steady, betraying nothing of the cold fury crystallizing inside her. "All right." She hung up. She set the phone down gently on the desk. Her hand didn't shake. Her breathing remained even. She took one more sip of wine, then set the glass down and opened her laptop. It was time. The plan she'd created had multiple contingencies. She hadn't known exactly how Kellen would make his move, but she'd prepared for various scenarios. This one was almost laughably predictable. First, she logged into their joint accounts. As expected, Kellen had already withdrawn significant amounts, but not everything. He was sloppy even in his betrayal. With methodical precision, she transferred the remaining funds to her separate account. Next, she opened her encrypted email and composed a message to Mo Garcia. Mo wasn't just her best friend from college. She was a corporate lawyer with a reputation for leaving nothing but scorched earth when crossed. The email was brief. Subject: execute the plan. Mo, he made his move. Proceed with all measures we discussed. She sent the email, then moved to the next phase. The house. Kellen claimed he'd sold it, which was impossible. The title had been moved 6 months ago into a trust he couldn't touch. She pulled up the property records to confirm yes. Still safely in her control. Whoever he'd sold, it was in for a nasty surprise. Lena picked up her phone again and dialed a number from memory. "Richard," she said when he answered. "It's Lena Whitmore. I need to accelerate the review we discussed." Richard Thompson was on the board of directors for the venture capital firm that had invested in Kellen's business. "Lena," his voice was warm, "I was planning to call you tomorrow. The concerns you raised about financial irregularities in your husband's company, they're looking legitimate. The board is already nervous." "Good," she said. "And the audit?" "Scheduled for next week. We're keeping it quiet for now." "Perfect." She ended the call and returned to her computer. By midnight, she had executed every part of her immediate plan. Finances secured, legal wheels in motion, property protected, business under scrutiny. She walked back to the window, a fresh glass of wine in hand. London sprawled before her, unconcerned with her personal war. She thought about Iris, safely with Patricia, away from the impending destruction. She thought about Kellen, probably celebrating his newfound freedom. With Sienna, unaware that freedom was the last thing awaiting him, Lena didn't feel sad. She didn't feel betrayed anymore. Those emotions had burned out months ago, replaced by a cold, calculating purpose. Kellen had made a critical mistake. He'd underestimated her. He thought she was just a wife to discard, not the architect of his downfall. She raised her glass to the city lights. "Checkmate," she whispered. Morning light filtered through the hotel curtains as Lena prepared for her final day of meetings in London. Her phone buzzed continuously, texts and emails that told her everything was proceeding exactly as planned. From Mo, legal paperwork filed. Freeze on assets complete. He tried to access the Meridian account. Denied. From Richard. Emergency board meeting called. Questions about financial management. Your stake is secure. From her bank. Unusual activity alert on joint accounts. Attempted withdrawal by K. Whitmore. Insufficient funds from an unknown number. This is Thomas Ryland. I purchased property at 472 Maple Drive from Kellen Whitmore. The sale can't be processed. Please contact me immediately. Lena allowed herself a small smile as she applied her lipstick. The dominoes were falling, one by one. Her phone rang. Patricia. Good morning, Mom, she answered, her voice lighter than it had been in months. Kellen's been calling nonstop, Patricia said without preamble, demanding to know where the money is, saying you've stolen from him. A pause. I assume this means your plan is working. Perfectly, Lena confirmed. How's Iris? Blissfully unaware. She's in the garden planting those sunflower seeds you got her. Patricia's voice softened. When are you coming home? I moved my flight up. I'll be back tomorrow, earlier than he expects. Good, Patricia said. And Lena? Whatever he says, whatever he threatens, don't back down. I learned from the best, Mom. After hanging up, Lena finished dressing for her meeting. She chose her sharpest suit, dark blue, impeccably tailored. Battle armor. Her phone rang again. Kellen. She declined the call. Within seconds it rang again. And again. On the fourth attempt, she answered. Lena, what the hell is going on? Kellen's voice was frantic. All traces of yesterday's smugness gone. The bank says the accounts are empty. Some guy is threatening to sue me over the house. What did you do? I protected what's mine, she replied calmly. That money is half mine. The house is half mine. You can't just. Actually, I can't, she cut him off. You should read the documents you signed, Kellen. It was always a mistake to assume I wouldn't notice or wouldn't act. This is insane, he sputtered. You're going to undo all of this right now. I have rights. Rights. Lena's voice turned cold. Like my right to a faithful husband? Like Iris's right to a father who didn't build a secret family? Iris, he said, his voice changing tactics. She's my daughter too. I'll take you to court for custody. With what money? With what lawyer? With what reputation once the board finishes their audit? She heard his sharp intake of breath. Yes, Kellen. I know about the financial irregularities. I've known for months. You wouldn't. I already have. Silence stretched between them. When he spoke again, his voice had a desperate edge. Lena, we need to talk about this. Face to face. I'm still your husband. Not for long, she replied. And Kellen? The next time you decide to build a life with someone else, make sure you've properly dismantled the first one. She hung up, blocked his number, and picked up her briefcase. She had a meeting to dominate, and tomorrow she would go home to watch the rest of Kellen's life crumble in person on her way out. Her phone pinged with a text from Mo. He just called my office, ranting about illegal actions and threatening lawsuits. I recorded the whole thing. His precise words were, I don't care what the paperwork says. That money is mine, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it back. Perfect for our case. Lena typed back, save that recording. We'll need it. The elevator doors opened. Lena stepped inside, her reflection in the mirrored walls, showing a woman fully in control. The girl who had once believed in Kellen's promises was gone. In her place stood someone much more dangerous, a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to reclaim. Lena moved through the airport with practiced efficiency, her carry-on rolling quietly behind her. She'd changed her business class ticket to arrive 5 hours earlier than her original itinerary, a detail Kellen wouldn't know since he no longer had access to her accounts. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mo. He's at the airport waiting for your original arrival time. Just FYI, Lena smiled. Perfect. Thanks for the heads up. She hadn't expected to see him until later. But this was even better. She'd have the advantage of surprise. As she approached the main terminal exit, she spotted him immediately. Kellen paced near the information desk, checking his phone constantly. Even from a distance, she could see the dishevelment that had replaced his usual polished appearance. His hair was uncombed, his shirt wrinkled, and the confident posture he typically maintained had collapsed into something anxious and agitated. For a moment, she considered slipping past him unnoticed. It would be easy enough. He was looking toward the gates, not the exits. But no, she wanted to see his face, wanted him to know she was always one step ahead. She walked directly toward him, her steps measured and unhurried. It took him nearly 30 seconds to notice her, and when he did, the shock on his face was worth every minute of planning she'd done. "Lena!" He rushed toward her, his expression cycling rapidly between confusion, relief, and anger. "How your flight isn't supposed to arrive until—" "I changed it," she replied simply, continuing to walk. She didn't slow her pace, forcing him to keep up with her. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low and urgent. "You have to stop what you're doing. You have no idea what you've caused." "What I've caused?" She raised an eyebrow, but didn't break stride. "The house deal fell through. The buyer is threatening legal action. The board called an emergency meeting about the company. I can't access any of our money." His words tumbled out, frantic and accusatory. "Fix this. Now." Lena stopped walking, turning to face him directly. People moved around them in the busy terminal, oblivious to the war being waged in hushed tones. "Tell me about your son," she said. Her voice flat that Kellen's face paled. "What?" "Your son, with Sienna. The one you mentioned when you called to tell me you were leaving me. How old is he? What's his name? Does he look like you?" Each question was like a knife thrust. "Lena, that's not—" "Not what?" "Not important. Not relevant to you, selling our house out from under me and our daughter? Not connected to you draining our accounts." Her voice remained calm, but her eyes were steel. "Everything that's happening now is precisely what you set in motion." "I made a mistake," he said, lowering his voice, a hint of the charm that once worked on her creeping back in. "With Sienna. It was stupid, but you're taking this too far. Think about Iris." "I am thinking about Iris," Lena replied. "I'm thinking about what kind of father builds a separate family and then tries to strip her mother of everything. That's not What happened to Sienna?" Lena cut him off. "Shouldn't she be here, supporting you? After all, you've moved in with her, right? Started your new life." Kellen's jaw tightened. He glanced away, and Lena knew instantly. "She already left you, didn't she?" Lena almost laughed. "Let me guess, she expected the wealthy consultant with the big house and luxury car. Instead, She gestured at his disheveled state. "This isn't over," he growled, his charm evaporating. "You think you've won? I built that business. I have friends, resources you don't know about." "No, Kellen. What you have is an empty bank account, a failed business, and a fraud investigation coming your way." She adjusted her grip on her carry-on. "Everything went just as I planned." His face twisted in confusion, then dawning realization. "You knew? Before I called you? You already—" "I've known for months," she confirmed. "Every late night, every lie, every secret withdrawal from our accounts. I've been 10 steps ahead of you the entire time." "You can't do this to me," he said, his voice rising. "I'm still your husband. I have rights." "Rights?" Lena shook her head. "You gave up your rights when you betrayed every promise you made. And husband?" She held up her left hand, where her wedding ring was conspicuously absent. "Not for much longer." A security guard glanced their way, noticing Kellen's increasingly agitated state. "Everything okay here, ma'am?" the guard asked, approaching slowly. Yes, thank you, Lena replied smoothly. My soon-to-be ex-husband was just leaving. Kellen looked from Lena to the guard, realizing he was cornered. This isn't over, he said, pointing at her. Actually, it is. Lena turned away, continuing toward the exit. Goodbye, Kellen. As she walked away, she heard him call after her, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. She didn't look back. There was nothing there she needed to see. Outside, she hailed a taxi and directed the driver to Patricia's address. She wanted to see Iris first, to hold her daughter and remember why all of this was necessary. Only then would she go home to continue dismantling the life Kellen thought he could steal from her. Lena sat in Patricia's sunlit kitchen, watching through the window as Iris played in the backyard. Her daughter's laughter filtered through the glass pure and untainted by the chaos unfolding around her. That was Lena's primary victory, keeping Iris protected from it all. He showed up here yesterday, Patricia said, placing a cup of tea in front of Lena, demanding to know where you were, what you'd done with his money. Patricia's mouth curved into a satisfied smile. I told him I taught you better than to leave anything for a cheat to steal. Did he threaten you? Lena asked, her eyes narrowing. He tried. I reminded him that I have excellent home security and a very clear warning system. Patricia nodded toward the small sign by her door that advertised her home alarm. What it didn't mention was the security cameras recording every inch of her property. He left quickly after that. Lena's phone chimed with a text from M.O. Just got out of court. Temporary restraining order granted against him approaching your home or Iris's school. We'll deliver papers to him today. Good news. Patricia asked, noting Lena's expression. M.O. got the restraining order. Kellen can't come near the house or Iris's school. Patricia nodded approvingly. M.O. always was efficient. What about the business situation? The board meeting is happening now. Lena checked her watch. Richard will call me afterward with details. As if summoned by her words, her phone rang. Richard Thompson's name flashed on the screen. Richard, she answered, putting the call on speaker so Patricia could hear. How did it go? Exactly as you predicted. Richard's voice was grave but satisfied. The financial review uncovered significant discrepancies. Kellen was using company funds for personal expenses, expensive ones. The board has voted to suspend him pending a full investigation. And my investment, protected as you arranged. Your 30% stake remains secure. In fact, given the circumstances, the board would be interested in discussing an increased role for you in the company's management. I'll consider it, Lena replied. Keep me updated on the investigation. After ending the call, she looked at Patricia, who was watching her with a mixture of pride and concern. What will you do with the company? Patricia asked. I haven't decided yet, Lena admitted. It has potential. Despite Kellen's mismanagement, I could rebuild it or sell my stake once the investigation is complete. She sipped her tea. For now, it's enough that he can't use it. Patricia reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. You always were capable of more than you realized. I just wish you hadn't had to prove it this way. Me too, Lena said softly. But here we are. That evening, as Lena tucked Iris into bed in Patricia's guest room, her phone buzzed with another message. This one from an unknown number. It's Sienna. Can we talk? Alone, Lena stared at the message. Sienna, the woman Kellen had betrayed her with. The mother of his secret child. She typed back, Why? The response came quickly because he lied to me too. And I think you deserve to know everything. Lena considered her options. Meeting Sienna could provide valuable information, but it could also be a trap set by Kellen. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Carter's Cafe on Elm. Come alone. After sending the message, Lena called M.O. and explained the situation. It could be Kellen using her phone, M.O. warned. I'll sit at a nearby table just in case. Thanks, Lena replied. Any word on how he took the restraining order? My courier said he went ballistic, started ranting about conspiracies and how you'd turned everyone against him. Mo paused. He's staying at the Ridgeview Motel. Apparently, Sienna kicked him out. Lena wasn't surprised. From what she'd gathered, Sienna was a luxury-loving yoga instructor who had likely been seduced by Kellen's promises of wealth and stability. Now that those promises had evaporated, her interest had likely done the same. One more thing, Mo added. The buyer who tried to purchase your house? He's filing fraud charges against Kellen. Claims Kellen showed him fake documents proving ownership. Can you connect me with him? Lena asked. I might have a proposal that could resolve the situation. Already thought of that, Mo replied. Meeting set for Thursday. And Lena? The IRS called. Seems like someone anonymously tipped them off about potential tax fraud in Kellen's business dealings. How unfortunate for him, Lena said, her voice neutral despite the satisfaction coursing through her. After hanging up, she checked on Iris once more, then joined Patricia in the living room. Kellen's staying at the Ridgeview, she informed her mother. Sienna threw him out. Patricia arched an eyebrow. The Ridgeview? Isn't that where they rent rooms by the hour? Among other dubious distinctions, Lena confirmed. How the mighty fall, Patricia murmured. What about his son? Lena shook her head. I don't know. I'm meeting Sienna tomorrow. She says he lied to her too. Be careful, Patricia warned. Desperate people are dangerous. I know, Lena assured her. Mo will be nearby. That night, as Lena prepared for bed, she received one last message, a lengthy, rambling email from Kellen. It veered between threats, pleas, and accusations. She read it through once, then forwarded it to Mo as further evidence of harassment, and deleted it from her inbox. She thought about Kellen, alone in a cheap motel room, watching his life disintegrate. She thought about Sienna, who had believed she was stealing a wealthy man, only to end up with nothing. She thought about herself, rebuilding from the ashes of betrayal. There was no satisfaction in any of it, only a cold, necessary justice. The following afternoon, Lena sat in Carter's cafe, strategically positioned with her back to the wall and a clear view of the entrance. Mo was at a table near the door, pretending to work on her laptop. They'd nodded to each other once when Lena arrived, then maintained their distance. Precisely 2 p.m., a woman entered the cafe. Tall, yoga-toned, with sleek dark hair and expensive-looking casual clothes. Sienna. Lena had seen photos of her before part of her intelligence gathering, but in person, she could see what had drawn Kellen in. Sienna had the kind of effortless beauty that made people stare. Their eyes met across the room. Sienna hesitated for a moment, then walked directly to Lena's table. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sliding into the seat opposite Lena. I was curious, Lena replied honestly, though I'm not sure what we have to say to each other. Sienna glanced around the cafe, then leaned forward. First, I want you to know that Kellen doesn't know I'm here. We're done. Congratulations on your good sense, Lena said dryly, though it came rather late. Sienna flinched, but didn't argue. I deserve that, but there's something you should know. She took a deep breath. There is no son. Lena's expression didn't change, though internally she processed this new information. He lied about having a child with you? Yes. When he called you from my apartment, I heard him say it. I was shocked. Sienna shook her head. He told me it was a tactic to make the breakup clean to ensure you wouldn't fight for the marriage. How considerate of him. Lena's voice was ice. So the affair was real, but the child was fiction. Yes. Sienna looked down at her hands. I met him at a wellness retreat for executives last year. He said his marriage was over in all but paperwork, that you two hadn't been intimate for years, that you were cold, career-obsessed, uninterested in him. And you believed him. I wanted to, Sienna admitted. He was charming, generous, always taking me to expensive restaurants, buying me gifts. I didn't ask where the money came from. From my accounts, Lena supplied. From my daughter's future. Sienna had the decency to look ashamed. I realized that. Too late. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. That's why I'm here. These are receipts, hotel bookings, text messages, everything documenting what he spent on me, when and where. There's also, she hesitated, evidence of other women. Lena stared at her. Other women? Besides me and you? Sienna nodded. At least 2 that I know of. One's named Amber. I don't know the other one's name, but she works at his office. Lena took the folder, keeping her face neutral despite the fresh wave of disgust rolling through her. Why are you giving me this? Because he used me, Sienna said simply. He lied to me about you, about his finances, about his intentions. And when everything fell apart, when he showed up at my door with no money, no house, and an obvious drinking problem, he expected me to support him. She gave a bitter laugh. He even suggested I should pay the rent until he gets back on his feet. And that's when you threw him out, Lena concluded. Yes, but not before I went through his phone while he was in the shower. Sienna tapped the folder. Everything's in there. Thank you, Lena said, genuine for the first time. This will be helpful. There's one more thing, Sienna added. After I kicked him out, he was ranting about getting back at you. He mentioned wanting to see Iris, said something about his rights as a father. I thought you should know. Lena's jaw tightened. When was this? Yesterday afternoon. That evening, Lena thought. Did he say anything specific? Just that no one could keep him from his daughter, that he'd show up at your mother's house if he had to. Sienna hesitated. He doesn't even ask about our son anymore. It's like he's forgotten he has 2 children. Lena immediately took out her phone and texted Patricia. Keep doors locked. Kellen might try to see Iris. Call police if he shows up. She looked back at Sienna. Did he mention anyone named Lucas? Lucas Tate. Sienna looked surprised. My ex? How did you know about him? Research, Lena said simply. Are you back with him? Yes, Sienna admitted. After I kicked Kellen out, Lucas helped me. We've been talking about trying again. Good for you, Lena said and meant it. Despite everything. She didn't blame Sienna, not entirely. Kellen was a skilled manipulator. His charm had worked on Lena too once. Thank you for this information. It helps. As Sienna stood to leave, she paused. I am sorry, you know. About all of it. I know, Lena replied. But sorry doesn't fix anything. Actions do. What will you do about? Sienna trailed off, clearly referring to her son with Kellen. That's not something you need to worry about, Lena said firmly. My issue is with Kellen, not with an innocent child. After Sienna left, Mo moved to join Lena at her table. That looked intense. What did she give you? Lena slid the folder across the table. Evidence. Lots of it. Mo opened the folder and whistled softly as she flipped through the contents. Hotel receipts, gifts, text messages. This is gold for the divorce proceedings. And for the tax fraud investigation, Lena added. Those weren't business expenses he was writing off. As they discussed next steps, Lena's phone rang. Patricia. Mom, is everything okay? He's here. Patricia's voice was calm but tight. Kellen. He's on the front porch, demanding to see Iris. Lena's blood went cold. Is Iris? She's fine. In the backyard with the neighbor's daughter. They can't see or hear him. Have you called the police? Not yet. I wanted to check with you first. Lena made a quick decision. Don't call them yet. Keep him talking. I'm on my way. She hung up and looked at Mo. Kellen's at my mother's house. I need to go. I'm coming with you, Mo said immediately, gathering the folder and her purse. This is a clear violation of the restraining order. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to Patricia's house. Kellen's old sedan, clearly borrowed or rented, was parked haphazardly in the driveway. They could hear his voice from the porch, growing increasingly agitated. "She's my daughter too, Patricia. You can't keep her from me." Lena and Mo approached quietly from the side of the house. Patricia stood in the doorway, one hand hidden behind her back, likely holding her phone, ready to call 911. "You think you deserve to see your daughter after what you did?" Patricia was saying, her voice ice cold. "Get off my porch before I call the cops." "You don't understand," Kellen insisted. "Lena has poisoned everyone against me. She's turned you, the board, even Sienna. It's not fair." "Fair?" Patricia's laugh was brittle. "Was it fair when you built a separate life while married to my daughter? Was it fair when you tried to sell the house from under them? Was it fair when you emptied the bank accounts?" "I didn't." Kellen started, then spotted Lena approaching. His face changed, anger mingling with desperation. This is all your fault." "No, Kellen," Lena said calmly. "This is all you're doing." "I want to see Iris," he demanded. "She's my daughter." "You're violating a restraining order," Mo interjected, holding up her phone, "which I've been recording since we arrived. Leave now, or we call the police and have you arrested." Kellen's eyes darted between the three women facing him. "This isn't over," he growled, backing toward his car. "You think you've won? You haven't seen what I'm capable of." "Actually, I have," Lena replied, "and it's not impressive." As he drove away, tires squealing, Patricia finally lowered her hand, revealing not a phone but a small canister of pepper spray. "Just in case," she explained, seeing Lena's raised eyebrow. That night, after Iris was asleep, the three women sat in Patricia's living room, glasses of wine in hand. "The restraining order violation helps our case," Mo explained. "We'll file the report tomorrow. With this and the evidence Sienna provided, we're in an excellent position for the divorce proceedings." "What about Iris?" Patricia asked. "Will he try for custody?" "He might," Mo acknowledged. "But he has no financial stability, no permanent address, and now a restraining order violation. Plus, the evidence shows he was spending family money on multiple affairs rather than supporting his child. No judge will give him more than supervised visitation, if that." Lena stared into her wine glass, thoughts churning. "I want to end this," she said finally. "Completely. No dragged-out court battles, no chances for him to regroup." "What do you have in mind?" Mo asked. "One final meeting," Lena replied. "One last chance for him to see exactly what he's lost." Lena chose the restaurant Carefully Castellanos, an upscale establishment where Kellen had taken her for their anniversary 2 years ago. The same restaurant where, she now knew from Sienna's evidence, he had dined with at least 2 other women in the past year. The private room in the back was reserved under her name. The table was set for 6, Lena, Kellen, Mo, Richard from the board, Thomas Ryland, the man who had tried to buy their house, and Agent Clark from the IRS. Sienna had declined to attend, saying she'd already given Lena what she needed. Lena arrived early, dressed immaculately in a fitted black dress that radiated confidence and control. One by one, the others arrived to Mo with her briefcase of legal documents, Richard looking grim but determined, Thomas with barely contained anger, and Agent Clark, professionally neutral but with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Kellen was 10 minutes late. When he walked in, he froze at the sight of everyone already seated, waiting for him. For a moment, Lena thought he might turn and leave. Instead, he straightened his shoulders and moved to the only empty chair. "What is this?" he asked, looking directly at Lena. "Some kind of intervention?" "No, Kellen," Lena replied calmly. "This is the end." Mo spoke first, placing a stack of documents in front of him. "These are the divorce papers. I've outlined the terms, all non-negotiable." She pointed to specific sections as she spoke. "You agree to relinquish all claims to the house, all financial accounts, and Lena's stake in your business. You agree to supervised visitation with Iris, pending completion of parenting classes and financial stability requirements. This is ridiculous, Kellen snapped. I'm not signing this. That's your choice, Mo continued, unfazed. But you should know that if we go to court, I'll be submitting this as evidence. She placed a second folder on the table, Sienna's documentation. Detailed records of your affairs, your financial misappropriations, and your attempts to hide assets. Kellen's face paled as he flipped through the pages, recognizing receipts, text messages, and photos. Where did you get this? That's not important, Mo replied. What matters is that a judge will see all of it. Richard cleared his throat. As for the business, the board has completed its preliminary investigation. He slid another document across the table. This outlines the financial irregularities we've uncovered. Personal expenses charged to the company. Client funds misappropriated. Tax discrepancies. Which brings me to my interest, Agent Clark interjected. The IRS has opened a formal investigation into potential tax fraud. We've found evidence of substantial unreported income and improper deductions. You can't prove any of this, Kellen insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, we can, Agent Clark replied. The paper trail is quite clear, and with your ex-wife's cooperation, we have access to all the necessary documentation. Thomas Ryland, who had been quietly seething, leaned forward. You sold me a house you didn't own, he said, his voice tight with anger. I've lost a significant deposit and wasted months of time. I've filed fraud charges, which carry potential criminal penalties. Kellen looked from face to face, the full weight of his situation finally sinking in. Lena! He turned to her, his voice dropping, attempting to appeal to whatever connection might remain. This has gone too far. We can work this out, just you and me. There is no you and me anymore, Lena replied, her voice steady. There's only the consequences of your actions. I made mistakes, he admitted, a hint of the charm that once worked on her creeping into his voice. But destroying me won't make things better. Think about Iris. She needs her father. Iris needs stability and honesty, Lena countered. Two things you've proven incapable of providing. She slid a pen toward him. Sign the papers, Kellen. Walk away with some dignity intact. And if I don't, he challenged, Mo answered. Then we proceed with the full divorce trial, where all of this evidence becomes public record. The criminal fraud charges move forward. The IRS investigation continues, and you spend the next several years in courtrooms and potentially prison, rather than rebuilding your life. For a long moment, Kellen stared at the pen, then at the faces surrounding him. Finally, his shoulders slumped. He picked up the pen and signed each document where Mo indicated. Is that it? He asked bitterly. Is my humiliation complete now? Almost, Lena said quietly. She nodded toward the restaurant entrance, where Sienna had just walked in, arm in arm with a tall, athletic man, presumably Lucas. Her reconciled ex-Sienna approached the table. I changed my mind, she said to Lena. I wanted to see this through. She glanced at Kellen, who stared at her in disbelief. You lied to me about everything, Kellen. Your marriage, your money, your character. I'm here to make sure you can't do this to anyone else. Kellen looked from Sienna to Lucas, then back to Lena. For the first time, genuine fear flickered in his eyes, the fear of a man who had lost everything and was only now realizing it was by his own hand. Enjoy your freedom, Kellen, Lena said, standing to leave. It's all you have left. As she walked out, followed by Mo and the others, she didn't look back. There was nothing there she needed to see any more. 2 months later, Lena stood in the driveway of her new home, watching as the moving truck pulled away. The house was larger than their previous one, with a sprawling backyard where Iris could play and a home office where Lena could work when she didn't want to commute to the city, as she'd purchased it outright. No mortgage, no loans. A clean start. Mo pulled up in her sleek black sedan, carrying a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "The last of the paperwork went through today," she announced, joining Lena on the front steps. "The business has been restructured. Your 30% stake is now 51%, making you the majority owner. The board is thrilled with the new direction." "And Kellen?" Lena asked, accepting a glass of champagne. "Last I heard, he's working as a sales associate at a sporting goods store in Cincinnati, living in a studio apartment. The tax situation is still ongoing, but he worked out a payment plan." Mo took a sip of her champagne. "He won't be troubling you again." From the backyard came the sound of Iris's laughter. Patricia had brought over a new swing set as a housewarming gift, and Iris was testing it enthusiastically. "How's she doing with everything?" Mo asked, nodding toward the backyard. "Better than expected," Lena replied. "She asks about him sometimes, but less often now. The therapist says she's adjusting well." She paused. "He hasn't tried to exercise his visitation rights. Not even once." "Are you surprised?" "No," Lena admitted. "He never really wanted to be a father. He wanted the image of a perfect family, not the reality." They clinked glasses, gazing out at the new neighborhood different from Havenwood. Less focused on appearances, more on substance. Just like Lena's new life. "You know," Mo said thoughtfully, "most people would have fallen apart after what you went through. But you turned it into a victory." Lena considered this. "I didn't have the luxury of falling apart. I had Iris to think about, and I refused to let him win." "Well, he certainly didn't," Mo laughed. That last meeting, the look on his face when he realized everyone was there to witness his downfall. Classic. Lena smiled, but didn't share in Mo's amusement. There was no joy in Kellen's destruction, only necessary justice. She had protected what mattered Iris, her financial security, her dignity. Patricia joined them on the porch, accepting the glass of champagne Mo poured for her. "To new beginnings," Patricia toasted, raising her glass. "And to lessons learned," Lena added, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across their new lawn. Lena thought about the path that had brought her here. The pain, the betrayal, the calculated revenge, it had all served its purpose. Kellen was gone from their lives, reduced to a cautionary tale. She watched Iris swing higher and higher, her daughter's face alight with joy and possibility. That was the real victory, not Kellen's downfall, but the future she had secured for herself and Iris. A future built on strength, not vulnerability. On independence, not false promises. Somewhere across town, in a dingy motel room, Kellen might be drinking himself to sleep, mourning all he had lost. Or perhaps he had already moved on, seeking new targets for his charm and manipulation. Lena didn't know. More importantly, she didn't care. She had protected what was hers. She had emerged stronger, and she had never looked back.